but it's going to be a little bit deeper than normally these studies are, if I can do it the way I'm intending to do it. All right, so I was supposed to stall a little bit so we can get that going. So that was my stalling. So now we're on Daniel chapter 2. All right, so let's open with prayer. Now that I'm thinking about it, remember this time. Let's pray. Most blessed Father, we are thankful that you love us in Christ and that you give us this, your word, and through which you assure us that you are in charge of all things, that you govern all things for our good. And we ask that you will now lead us by your Spirit, that we may understand this important episode in Daniel's life, that we may know its relevance for us as well. In Jesus' holy name, we ask this. Amen. Okay, Daniel 2. So I think I'm just going to start right into it. There's no really historic background to this one, because if you look at it closely, it pretty much just flows right out of what we just did. There'll be a couple questions that may come up, because these were the questions that came up since we did the study already in Houston at this point. The questions are, and I'll just kind of throw those out now. See, when Daniel ended chapter 1, where are Daniel, Shadrach, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah? Where are they at the end of chapter 1? Yeah, in Babylon, but what position is what I'm talking about? I'm sorry, not where, but I should say, well, they finished their training. Yeah, they graduated, yeah. And so now they're actually in a position of authority. And that becomes the immediate question that was asked actually, in Houston. I don't know if it be a question popped in your mind, is why isn't Daniel consulted right away in this episode? Why is he later consulted? He's not actually even consulted. He's just going to be put to death. Then he's the one that asserts himself. So I don't have an answer. I just have a suggestion. My suggestion is that this happened so quickly that Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael actually haven't been put into their positions yet. And they may have to kind of prove themselves a little bit. And then because after this episode's over, then he will definitely be elevated, but he's not yet. Okay, so, yeah.
Well, this says in the second year of his reign, so Daniel and them haven't even come. Or they haven't graduated.
Okay, well, he does. Now, I didn't want to do that because he has a whole thing on this because, yeah. No, I can't now. No, you brought it up. Okay. And here is critical scholars often point to this and basically as an inaccuracy or an inconsistency in Daniel to say that Daniel can't be trusted, because here he says this, and in the next chapter he says this. It's a different date. But he says it's all dated. I'll see if I can condense this real quickly. It has to do with how you date when a person is ruling. Okay. Jews may date it one way, Babylonians date it another way. All right. And it has, I'm not going to go into all the details because we don't want to spend 20 minutes doing that. But it has to do with that, and it's kind of like, maybe think this way. When we talk about Jesus in the grave for 3 days, how many hours was he literally in the grave? About 36. Right? How's it 3 days, though? Right. Yeah, it includes the day, they count the day it starts on. That's actually day 1. For us, we started, that's the start, so the day 1 is the next day. But in Jewish counting, that's day 1. All right, and so that's what it is here. Just trust that's what it is. It has to do with, are you counting that year or are you counting this year? One counts it one way. If you want more information, I'll tell you later. Because I got it. I'm not trying to skirt the question because I don't know an answer. The answer is here, but I don't know if you really want me to spend that much time on it.
We kind of have the same thing in our culture, because you talked about...
You mean American culture or Botswana? Okay.
Because so-and-so won the election in 2020, but they don't actually get installed until 2021.
That's exactly how it works. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly it. That's what it is. We count, and I have to restate this so I was listening. When we count elections, you get elected in 1 year, but you don't actually get in for presidency until the next year. But you start it, and so 2024 is the election, but you won't start till 2025. Okay, and that's what it is here with Nebuchadnezzar. He became king, but he hasn't assumed the full reign of it until the next year, but he's already the king.
The Brits do that too, with when they actually crown the guy who's going to be king.
Okay.
Because Charles, as soon as his mother died, he was king.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't actually crowned until.
Okay, yeah. And that, okay, so yeah, that's the same thing. It's the same concept. There might be different, and he actually has literal dates here. April 2nd, 604 to March 21st, 603. That was his first year, okay? And he goes through all that. Okay, so we're not going to do that. I can do it if you want to, but I'm not going to. If you want it, that'd be bonus. Stay after class. No, I won't be here. Yeah, I'll give you this. You can read it, okay? You can read the commentator. All right. So, so again, so now let's just get started into it. I mean, I'm going to read it the way he translates it, because that way give you another way of looking at it. In the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamt a dream. Now, does it say just had a dream? Yeah, had dreams. But it's literally dreamt a dream. Okay, dreamt a dream. I like how it sounds. Okay, his spirit was troubled, but sleep came upon him again. Okay, that means that he dreamt it and he woke up and then he went back to sleep.
Mine says that he could not sleep.
Okay, no, it woke him up, but the sleep came upon him again. Okay, all right. So he didn't stay awake the whole night. Once that's what happened. That's the point. He had the dream, and it woke him up because it was such a troubling dream.
Says though he was so troubled that his sleep left him.
Yeah, I know. Here it said, but sleep came upon him again, that he fell asleep again. That he's so troubled that he. What did you say, Stacy?
It says he was so troubled that his sleep left him, which is like.
Yeah, sleep left him. Yeah.
So that he was awake.
Right. All right. It's kind of fun again. Okay, here we go. The king said to summon the magicians, the soothsayers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to relate to the king his dream. So they came and stood before the king. The king said to them, I dreamt a dream, and my spirit was troubled to understand the dream. Okay, so let's stop with that. That's just 3 verses, but this is important to set the stage here. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar has this dream, and obviously I shouldn't say obviously, maybe you don't, but in cultures in that day, dreams often meant something. Particularly certain dreams and certain people having dreams meant something. Pharaoh with his dreams way back in Egypt. All right, so Nebuchadnezzar, when he had this dream, it was a weird dream, but not just weird in the details of it, because it's not really that weird when you look at the details. It's weird in, not weird, it's troubling. Take the word weird out of it. It's a troubling dream. In other words, you probably have had dreams that you woke up as like, man, that was not just weird, that was scary. Okay, all right, yeah, and that's what it was. It was not literally scary, it was troubling to him. Okay, and he's like, this means something. This is not just a weird dream that because I had something bad to eat that night. It was, in his mind, he immediately interpreted this as being a dream sent to him from the gods. Okay, it's a message. It's not just a dream. It's a message sent from of course, he believes in gods, so it's a message sent from the gods. That's why he summons these men. Now, I didn't say this last week, and I meant to. I completely forgot. When Daniel is placed along these guys, who are these guys that are and I'm going to tell you who they are. The Hebrew says they are the magicians, soothsayers, sorcerers, and Chaldeans. Okay? Magi, exactly. They're the Magi. Part of them are the Magi. Not all of them are Magi, but some of them are Magi. Okay, that term, interestingly, he says, that was actually in chapter 1, verse 20, magicians. It most likely is Egyptian. All right, now, if you remember when Moses came into Pharaoh's court, he had his rod, and he throws his rod down, turns into a snake, and Pharaoh's magicians do the same thing. Do you remember that? Their rod actually became a snake. Okay, it literally did do that, and Moses' snake ate their snake, okay? So that is a term, though, that was used for the Egyptian spiritualist, okay, called magicians. So, or magi. So what this is indicating, since that really is an Egyptian word, it's probably suggesting that in Pharaoh's court, he didn't just have these Jews, right? He had people from other conquered peoples. So he had Egyptian magicians there too. So they were part of these wise people. Okay, so just so you know that. The next one after that is just a word, soothsayer, rendered as a soothsayer. And what that would be is a witch. Now, we don't use that term witch, wouldn't translate it here witch, but it's a witch in the sense that the soothsayers perform incantations. That's how I think of a witch, right? Watching Bewitched or something like that. Okay, perform incantations for to accomplish things. You know what I'm saying, right? Casting spells. Okay, that's the next one. That's the soothsayers. All right. Now, and then the next one. I gotta get all the way to the next. What we just. What? That's an enchanter. Yeah. That's an enchanter. Okay, and then the sort. Well. Yeah, I guess. Then the last one is the sorcerer. Okay. Yeah. So it was magicians, soothsayers, and sorcerers. The sorcerers were actually, might just say, a demonic priests. Okay. They are the ones who perform occultic practices. Okay. I mean, there's weird demonic activity going on all over the world with sacrificing of animals and even humans. In fact, I remember reading this. I know it's off the subject real quick, but when one of the pastors in Cape Girardeau, Disson, when he did his vicarage in Cuba, he wrote a book on this. He did his vicarage when Castro took over. Yeah, and he was on his vicarage then, not a pastor. He was on his vicarage then. In Cuba, when Castro, yeah, no, when Castro took over, okay, yeah, okay, and he said though that I think it was every Halloween, you better, if you were a white person with little kids, you better watch them, because they would take little girls, especially blonde hair, blue-eyed girls, and they would sacrifice them. The people down there in that voodoo kind of culture. So it said they would take them and they would sacrifice them. So you better watch your girls at that time. I think it was Halloween. I thought, whoa, that's scary. It's really scary. All right, that's these guys.
Well, in Africa, we had different levels of witch doctors.
Okay.
You had herbalists there. I mean, it also kind of call them traditional doctors, witch doctors, but you have the herbalists that were kind of more in tune with nature, witch plants, things like that. And then you'd have the next level kind of being on the voodoo, kind of doing charms, doing
Okay.
some incantations.
Well,
and stuff. And then you had those that were, let's control the spirits and call out
Okay. Yeah, the spirit ones are calling. Yeah, demonic things.
the dances and the possessions and the
Okay. Right. So that's who these people are. Okay. Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael are not those people. All these other people, for us, they'd be scary people. They are demonic. They don't think they're demonic. They think they're just worshiping their false gods. But their false gods either do not exist or they are actually demons. Okay? That's who these other people are. That's important to note right now. Okay? It's really important to note. Now, they aren't, acting really, really strange, but this is how they do it in that culture. All right? So that's who Nebuchadnezzar summons, these group. Now, the last one, astrologers, is the NIV, but it's really Chaldeans, and they are ones that actually watch the stars. And that's where they think the Magi from the east came for Jesus. When they saw, we've seen his star in the sky in the east, and so we've come to worship him. So that's possibly them, their descendants, who actually now understood Christ to be the King of the Jews. All right, so that's who these people are. So you can see why Daniel, and particularly this Daniel now, has no association with these people. All right, he's doing his thing as a righteous, holy man, and they're doing their thing, but they're all in the court. They're all supposedly working together. Okay, so moving on. So I think that was it. All right. No. So yeah. And so as we move on, so get this idea in your mind now as we move on. What this is really about is an encounter, or basically a battle between the true God and demons. So that's why I say you have to look at this in a bigger picture than what you might actually naturally see. This is a battle between God and false gods, or God and Satan. Okay, that's really what this ends up becoming, without Satan being actually named here. But he's always the power behind demonic forces, and these are demonic worshipers. Okay.
We have those demonic forces with us now.
Yes, and
I'm in the flesh, in Bunker.
in Bunker,
Yes.
really.
There was a group, I think they're gone now, but there was a group that, called Diana's Grove.
Okay.
They were witches' coven.
Oh.
I used to have them as clients. They were dog rescuers until I found out what they were.
And then they're sacrificing?
I had to figure out how to get rid of them.
Yeah, yeah. Were they sacrificing them?
I don't know what they were doing.
Okay.
You know,
Well,
it was a little bit scary when you
yeah.
realize how close this demonic
Right. And they'll sometimes say, well, we only practice white magic, not black magic. It's like, yeah.
got into that discussion.
Yeah.
And I never asked them what they were, but
Okay,
there was
right.
something off about them, and then I heard,
I heard from, okay. Yeah, but even when they say I practice white magic, they say black magic, it's still demonic. It's still demonic. Okay. All right. So again, see this as a battle between God and Satan. Really, this is why this is so significant, this whole event. All right, so verse 4 now. The Chaldeans said to the king in Aramaic, "Your Majesty, may you live forever. Tell the dream to your servants, and we will explain its meaning." All right, just a little comment here is why do they speak in Aramaic? That was right. That was the language of the world at the time. Okay, because it says the Chaldeans said that. The Chaldeans are Babylonians. They would have spoken naturally in Babylonian or Chaldean. They would have spoken in Chaldean to Nebuchadnezzar, but not necessarily the Egyptians and the others who are in the court working with them would have maybe clearly, fully understood that. So they all speak in the language they all understand.
where did that language originate?
Aramaic? I don't know. It's a lot like Hebrew, and it's like to me, if you look at it, and I could learn it if I ever wanted to, because you're not learning whole different alphabets. It's not like Arabic. It's the same alphabet as Hebrew, but it's just written differently, I guess.
It's basically a Middle Eastern.
Yes, definitely Middle Eastern, right. But not modern Arabic, like Muslims have now, or Arabs have now. All right, so that's just that little comment. So this is why we're speaking in Aramaic. All right, so they said, "Tell the dream to your servants, and we will explain its meaning." All right, now, okay, obviously, why do they say that? Well, no, why do you say, "Tell us the dream"? Like, duh. We don't know what you dreamt. You have to tell us your dream. Tell us the dream, then we'll tell you what it means. Now, that's the other thing. How does that work? You tell us the dream, we'll tell you what it means.
You can make it any way you want.
You can, yeah. You can interpret it any way you want.
We do that all the time.
Yeah. What's interesting is one of our older members over in the Houston church, he knew of a Christian group that's just way out there, okay? They actually have a book on if you have this in your dream, if it has this in the dream, well, this means this, and this means this. And it's just really weird. Yeah. Yeah, but it's Christian in that one, okay? But it's like the tarot cards. These things means this, all right? And so it's obvious. Just tell us the dream, we'll tell you what it means, all right? And obviously, they can be sly about how they do that. They can make up anything they want, and the king will... They believe that the king will just accept whatever we say, because we're the wise men, we're the trusted ones, we're the priests of gods. Okay, and so you don't doubt us. We know what we're saying. So just tell us the dream. We'll tell you what it means. Makes sense for them to do that. Okay, all right. So Nebuchadnezzar's response. Okay, the king answered and said to the Chaldeans, "The matter from me is certain. If you do not make known to me the dream and its meaning, you shall be made into body parts." Yeah, in your house, that's what it literally says. And your houses will be made a pile of rubble. However, if you reveal the dream and its meaning, you will receive gifts, a reward, and great honor from me. Therefore, reveal to me the dream and its meaning. Okay? All right? So remember what he said about Nebuchadnezzar? He's smart enough to know how to interview these guys, right? So what is he smart enough also to know? Yeah, they'll try to manipulate. They'll try to con him, and just pull it over his head, all right? And just make up anything and say, hey, we're the authorities on this matter. You have to believe what we say because we're the authorities, all right? All right? Now, Nebuchadnezzar, does he believe they are the authorities? Yeah. Exactly. And he believes he literally does believe they are the representative of the gods. All right? So in his mind, this is brilliant what he's doing. In his mind, what is he saying? He says, if you truly represent the gods, then tell me what the gods told me. Tell me the dream. Because if you really represent the gods, they will tell you what I dreamed because it's not a secret to them, right? I mean, and so it makes sense what he's actually saying. Like I said, it's brilliant what he's saying. You should know because you represent the gods. Don't you?
Interviewing your child when he comes home, where were you at last night? And you know darn well where
Yeah, right. That's true. But at first, he actually does believe they represent the gods. He's not think they're connivers or anything like that. He really does believe that. So he's saying, if this dream is obviously so serious that I want to know that you know what it means. And the only way you can know is if the gods told you what the dream is. Because if they told you what the dream is, then they will tell you the meaning and it will be legitimate. I mean, it'll be inspired by God. I mean, it will be no doubt about it that this is what it means. All right? So again, he's actually trusting them, and because he's not trying to set a trap for them. He wants to know the meaning of their dream because it's all about the dream. It's not about these guys. All right? So what he's doing is a legitimate thing that he's doing. All right? All right, so there's that. And then they answered a second time and said, now we're down to, by the way, before that, he says, but if you don't, then I know you don't really represent the gods. And then you're worthless to me. So much so that I'm going to cut you up. Tear down your houses, make it a pile of rubble. And actually, that word rubble made me a dunghill, okay? Meaning it will be a place of uncleanness that no one would ever go around ever again. You are that despicable that I want nothing more to do with you. If you really can't do this, then you really aren't who you've been claiming to be all of these years when I put all my confidence in you. You see what he's saying? I've been trusting you all this time, and if you can't do this, then you've been liars the whole time. And why do I want you in my court? I don't. I'm going to kill you. See, again, it's actually... It's a very extreme position he's taking, obviously, and a very violent one by extreme, but it's also a brilliant one.
Well, if you think it was just an average dream and he's just curious,
Right.
he's not going to go that.
Yes.
But when it said, that he was so anxious, because when people do have dreams, they can have dreams and the content is,
Yeah.
they elicit a very different emotion.
Ex-
Content is just
Right.
weird, but you wake up feeling alert.
Right. And it is because the dream is so troubling to him that it's like, I'm not just going to blow this off. This is serious. And again, I believe the gods gave me this dream. So the gods want me to know something. Okay? I mean, and he also, as the king, is also a representative of the gods. So he's believing the gods want me to know something. So you need to tell me what it is, because they're not telling me. You're their representatives. You got to tell it to me. All right. So and if you do, of course, he says, and I'll reward you handsomely. If you tell me what it is, but if you don't, then obviously you're shysters, and I can't trust you, so I'll get rid of you. All right, so then they answered a second time and said, let the king tell the dream to his servants, and we will explain its meaning. All right, they just say the same thing. All right, okay, so the king answered and said, for sure I know that you are buying time, because you see that the matter is certain from me. Because if you do not make the dream known to me, there is only one decree for you. You have devised a lying and corrupt response to say before me until the time changes. Therefore, reveal to me the dream, and I will know that you are able to reveal to me its meaning. All right? So here we go again. So when they say, come on, king, just tell us the dream, and we'll explain it to you. Okay? What does he now realize is going on? They don't know anything. Right? And now he said, and that's really how he's saying it, you're buying time. He says, you're just trying to buy time, hoping that something's going to change somehow, or you're going to think that, enough time passes, the king will forget about it, and we'll just move on. He says, that's not happening. But that's what he accuses them of thinking that, and they may be thinking that, but he's saying it's not going to happen. This dream is so serious, we're not moving on. I got to know what this dream means. Okay, and again, and if you know it, then tell me. If you don't, you're dead. Okay, that's basically what he's saying. All right. Now, if you think about this, yeah. Okay. So we're kind of that part. Yeah. Okay. So the fact that these soothsayers, enchanters, magicians, all of them, can't interpret this. Remember, it means something. And remember, I said at the beginning of this is really a battle between God and Satan. So what is this saying? The dream came from God, and Satan doesn't know it. Because if Satan knew it, what would he have done? He would have told those people, this is what the dream was. And this is what it means. But you see, Satan is not in the loop. But you can see how this works. If Satan really wants to assert himself and say, I got this, I'm in charge of everything, he would have done that now, because this is his opportunity. But you see, he's nothing compared to God. So if you get the whole point of the book of Daniel is that God's in charge, not even Satan can thwart God. Okay, you got that already right here. So like I said, it's a bigger picture than you may have realized when you just read this, okay? There's something going on here behind the scenes in the supernatural realm that is really, really significant to understand. And it's the fact that Satan is limited in his abilities to foresee the future. And even to read into the mind, because he doesn't know Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Because if he knew the dream, he would have told the guys. I mean, he would have told them. He's not going to, he can communicate to them very clearly, but he doesn't, because he doesn't know it. All right, so he can't do it. All right, so that's an important point to make and note before we move on. All right, so as we now move on. So we're up to verse 10, right? So the Chaldeans answered before the king, saying, there is no person on earth who is able to reveal the king's matter, since no great and powerful king has ever requested a matter like this from any magician, soothsayer, or Chaldean. The matter that the king requests is difficult, and there is no one else who can reveal it to the king except God's, whose dwelling is not with mortal flesh. All right, so what have they just admitted? We don't know anything. But we're okay. We're excused for not knowing anything, because what you ask, no one can do. Okay? So don't kill us. What you ask is unreasonable. No one can do this. Why can no one do this? Because what are they now saying about the gods? We don't know the gods. Yeah. They don't talk to us. All right? You see? All this time, though, they've been saying this is what the gods are meaning. Okay, so you read your tarot cards or the horoscopes and all that. This is what the gods are saying. Nah, it's all made up. Okay? They have just, without probably meaning to do this, they have just admitted we're charlatans. We don't know anything. Everything we've done has been kind of made up. Not necessarily everything made up. No, I'm guessing demonic powers have influenced them to do things. But basically they're saying we don't know this. Gods don't talk to us like we have claimed that they do talk to us. In fact, no God does that. You see the setup? Do you see how they just, I mean, it's just lobbing the ball out there for the guy to hit a home run off of this one. They're just lobbing it out there for Daniel to say, yeah, your gods don't, but my God does. All right? And so, see, now you see, you got a doctrine of theology, doctrine of God, right here. Because what have they just admitted? Human gods, meaning gods that man made up, either aren't real or they're demonic powers, but they really don't have any connection to us. The one true God has always dwelt with man. And then he literally will in Emmanuel, Jesus. But he walked with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and he's been with man all the time. And the true God does talk to his people. Now, for us, it's through the Bible now, but in the Old Testament, he appeared to his people and talked to them, as Daniel here, in visions also often too. But he does. The one true God is so concerned about humanity that he connects to us. The false gods, they could care less about us. They don't have anything to do with it. They just run this for their own pleasure. But the one true God cares about it. Now, that's what we're saying. They aren't admitting any of that, but what they're saying is that our gods are such that we have no connection to. So when Daniel steps into the scene here in a little bit, he's like, yeah, that's true. Their gods are worthless. I'll tell you the God who does relate to us, and the God who is in charge, and the God who does care. And so that's what's going to happen here. All right? And so that's what's going on there. So how they said that is really important to understand. Okay, because of this, the king became very angry and enraged, and he gave the order to destroy the wise men of Babylon. The decree was issued, and the wise men were in the process of being executed. So they sought Daniel and his companions to execute them. All right, so that ends this little section. So here's what happened. Nebuchadnezzar is furious now because that response was not what he wanted. All right? Because obviously he's getting nothing from these guys, and he still has the dream to deal with, and now he has all these charlatans out in front of him that have been his advisors for all this time. Well, he's only been king for 2 years, I guess, but he has these charlatans as his advisors, and he's like, I don't need you. So you're all dead. Yeah, all you did, cut up into body parts, okay? Now, think about that too. What has he now just said? He by issuing the death penalty, he has now said, you are not true representative of the gods. Because if you were, I dare not kill the representative of the gods, okay? Because the gods will get me if I kill their representatives, their priests. I can't do that. That'd be awful for me to do that. I'd be in big trouble. But obviously you are not who you claim to be, so therefore you are false, and therefore I will kill you. Makes perfect sense. That is true justice, right? They're getting what they really deserve. Well, he is in a different way the representative of the gods. He's the protector of the gods. Okay, so kings, your idols can't get captured.
Did it put doubt in his mind about
The true God, or the false gods, his gods.
yeah, did it put doubt in his mind?
No, I don't think it did yet. Because the dream he still believes comes from the gods. He does believe the dream does come from the gods. He just doesn't know who's going to be the ones that can tell him. Yeah, it's still there. The dream, the issue is still at hand. It hasn't been resolved. All right, he just removed the ones who can't do anything about it. All right, now the one part about this that is kind of intriguing that there's debate upon, and it doesn't really change anything here, it did for those people, is did these guys immediately get killed right there? Well, that's what it's not. I don't think so either. But it could possibly. Our Lutheran commentator doesn't think so either. But he's saying the decree has been issued. But it could have been, given the way Nebuchadnezzar is. We're starting now. Okay, you guys standing in front of me now are dead, and then we're going to round up the rest of them and going to kill them too. So don't really know. It could be either way. Okay, so and really, I think you could argue it both ways. In the different ones I'm reading, you can hear the argument both ways. It's not going to change anything, like I said. It's just that those guys may already be dead, but maybe not. Maybe not. And actually, I'm kind of going on the assumption they aren't. They're about to be. Well, because I'm thinking he's waiting to get them all together. Or he's issued the, but see, I don't know. You know, I know. So, yeah. Well, and he says the process. Yeah, all right, right. So it's possible they were. Okay. So like I said, it's not one of those you want to get in a debate about. It's really not a big deal. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But not all of them were, obviously, because he has to round them all up all over. Okay. Because if these are the top of the group, and if they aren't any good, then no one else is either in his mind. So let's just get rid of all of them. All right. Which in my mind's kind of thinking, really? Because you're actually training these guys also to be diplomats and all that too. So you just kind of cut yourself down and cut yourself out of any wise people. Yeah, you train them for 3 years. Yeah, but Nebuchadnezzar apparently had a temper, and he could just bust out. Okay, and when you have a temper, sometimes you're very irrational. All right, when you flare up with a temper, you're not thinking properly, right? Okay. Well, I always say that because you're nodding. Okay. But that is true. So Nebuchadnezzar's doing that. All right. So move on to the next section. Okay. So then Daniel replied with prudent judgment to Arioch, the chief of the king's executioners, who had gone out to execute the wise men of Babylon. He said to Arioch, the king's officers, "Why is the decree so harsh from the king?" So Arioch explained the matter to Daniel. Then Daniel entered the court and requested from the king that he would give him time so that he could reveal the meaning to the king. All right, so that, again, this is the point. Daniel's not there with these guys. He's somewhere else in the palace area, though. And Arioch comes there. He says, "You're next." Or if they're already killing him, "You're next. And you and Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, you're all next." Okay? And so Daniel, he hears the decree. His life seriously is threatened. He's that close to death. And if God does not intervene, Daniel's dead. All right? All right. So what's Daniel's response? Remember, he's 18 years old, maybe. He's 18 years old, going to the executioner, and he says, "Why is the decree so harsh from the king?" And literally, it says that Hebrew there for translated harsh there. It says, "Why is it so overbearing, so audacious, so insolent?" Okay, I mean, he's like, why would the king make such a horribly awful decree? You know, he's actually challenging the king. Okay, he doesn't literally talk to the king, Nebuchadnezzar, but that's literally what Daniel's saying. All right. Then Arioch explains it, okay, to Daniel. So Arioch, at least, thankfully, by God's grace, had a little bit of mind. He didn't just blindly execute orders without thinking. He thought about it. And so he told Daniel, and then Daniel says, "You know, I can do this. All right, take me to the king, and I can do it. Not literally, I can do it. Okay, because he actually doesn't say he's going to do it yet. Okay, so he goes to the king. So here he is, this 18-year-old, probably, roughly 18 to 20-year-olds. He's going into the king, says, went and requested that he would be given time so they could reveal the meaning to the king, which would mean the dream too. Okay, so here's the point. Why does Daniel get time? And the other guys asked for time, and they didn't get it. Why does Nebuchadnezzar give Daniel time? Don't say because Nebuchadnezzar liked Daniel.
Because he said he would reveal it.
Yeah. He said, "I just need time to consult my God." Yeah.
So why were Daniel,
Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael. Yeah.
why were they considered sorcerers and enchanters and such along with the others?
Yeah. Well, obviously they aren't. In Nebuchadnezzar's mind, they would be considered that way. They're all just together in his mind, but in God's mind, they aren't. Okay, and Daniel's going to make that clear as we go through this. He's going to make it clear, I'm not a representative of those gods. As you're going to see this as you go through it, he's going to say, I speak for the living God. Okay, so there's going to be that distinction. But in that mind, it's just like if you're all working for a corporation, or actually if you're all working in the cabinet or something of a president, you're all thought to be the same, but you may not all be the same. One may be a devout Christian, the other one may be awful people, but you're all lumped together. Okay, so Daniel, so he's given permission to the night and then come back. So Nebuchadnezzar doesn't have leniency for Daniel necessarily because Daniel does promise to, like you said, he does promise to reveal it. All right, the other guy says no one can do this.
My Bible says, or this Bible.
Yeah.
Says appoint him a time, like make a date. It doesn't say give him time.
Well, yeah, and here it says he requested from the king that he would give him time so that he could reveal the meaning to the king. Okay, well, yeah, I see what you're saying. Let me see if he has something on the commentary about. No, it doesn't even say anything about what the word would be, that it would be a significant word. But it is, he is given permission. And it's going to be that night, is always given. Maybe that's all he's requesting.
I want an appointment.
No. The king is talking to the Nebuchadnezzar here. And Nebuchadnezzar is giving him that permission to reveal the meaning. Okay, but it is going to, but I understand what you're saying, because it's going to play itself out, which we'll get to next week, how it plays itself out, because Arioch's going to be the one bringing Daniel back, and Arioch's going to say, I found this guy who can do this for you. It's like, well, didn't Daniel just tell Nebuchadnezzar he could do it? So I'm not sure how that works either. I don't understand how things work in courts, those courts. I mean, not law court. Yeah.
My translation says that Daniel was asked for a certain time, which is like the 10 days that they asked
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, right.
The king was not on the hook forever. He was just like,
Yeah.
you can't tell me by next Wednesday.
Right. And so, in other words, Daniel's not stalling for time like the other guys were and hoping that the king would just forget about it. Daniel says, I will do this. I mean, well,
Probably a definite time.
yeah, that's what and only because that's how it ended up being.
If you're smart like Nebuchadnezzar's supposed to be, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. Right. And now Daniel, now again, he doesn't say, I will do this for you. Because now, let's finish this little section here and we'll stop. It says, then Daniel went to his house and explained the matter to Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael, his companions, so that they might seek mercy from the God of heaven concerning this mystery, so that they might not destroy Daniel and his companions with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. So see, Daniel, he's not trying to twist God's arm and say, you have to do this for me. He goes home. He says, guys, these three, let's pray that God will do this for us. We can't insist that he does it. We don't tell God what to do. We will ask God, will you give us that, what we need to know, what Daniel needs to know. Will you give me the dream and the meaning so that I can actually do this? But again, they're not demanding anything from God. They're asking for God. So they're basically saying, God, our life is in your hands. If you really have a purpose for us here in Babylon, then this is what will happen. You'll do this for us. Mm-hmm.
Our God will save us.
If he chooses. Right. Yeah, that's true. So really, this is the first of those, if he chooses things. This is the first one, our life's in jeopardy, and if God chooses to save us, this is what he will do. And then the next one will be the fiery furnace. If he chooses to do that, then he will. And then Daniel in the lion's den. Right.
Or even with the different dietary, I don't know what the wording was for
Oh, yeah, the dietary stuff. Yeah.
if our God chooses.
Yeah, he doesn't say that, but that's still the same thing. But so what you're seeing here is you're seeing this faith that these four have. But it's a faith that is not like a name it and claim it. Okay, like, people are now. God, you have to do this because I said you do it, and I say it in faith, so you got to do it. That's not how it works. And they understand that. Properly understood, it's always, if it is your will, God, you will do this, or will you do this, okay? But we are putting ourselves and trusting ourselves into your wise and merciful keeping. But so we're doing this with faith that you will do the right thing, and that the right thing will honor you. Not necessarily save us, but the right thing will honor you. All right, so that's where we're going to stop with this now, okay? Because so they do go home. He goes home and they do it, and that's what they do that night. And then next week when we get verse 19, then we'll explain what's going on from there. Okay. So like I said, if you have actually read this scene before, you may not have grasped the depth of what's really going on in this scene about the struggle between. It's not a struggle, but the battle between God and Satan, okay, and how God is asserting himself and showing he's in charge of it all, okay. So we'll pick it up there next week, and let's close with prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, again, thank you for your word, and thank you for the brief study we've had today, and through which you reminded us that you truly are in charge, and that we can entrust ourselves to you, knowing that you will always do that which is best for your honor and glory, and that your honor and glory is to care for us. And we thank you for this opportunity to study your word. We pray that you'll give us confidence as we live our lives, that we may entrust ourselves to your keeping in every situation, knowing that you will do it all for our good and your honor. Through Jesus we ask this. Amen.